So Naya Health was born in April this year.
Oh, okay.
So it's fairly new. We're very early stage.
So it's okay. So it's very new, and the fact that you're raising a little over 200,000 is really great. Have you ever questioned yourself, because you came from research in pharmaceuticals, which is more of a conservative, can be a conservative industry, to this wild, wild west of entrepreneurship? You ever question what the heck are you doing?
You know, I do question myself, and I think it's good to kind of have those checks and balances within yourself. You know, I've often wondered, you know, I'm not really that mold that maybe you would think of being an entrepreneur, but I have some really great ideas, and I have a very talented husband, and I think the two of us can do something really big. We can have a very positive impact. And so I think because of that, and the fact that I am so passionate about motherhood and really reaching out to other moms and really wanting them to reach their breastfeeding goals. I mean, that's why I'm doing this. And so I think just the combination of that, I think it kind of reaffirms, okay, Janica, you know, you can do this. You're in it for the right reasons. You do have a wealth of knowledge, you know, more from the clinical and regulatory, and then Jeff kind of fills in the rest. So I think so far it's really been good, but I do question myself, and then that's kind of what I kind of talk myself down and remind myself that, you know, I'm a capable woman, and I've lived this.
Who inspires you?
Oh, professionally, personally.
Who inspires you to get up in the morning and plug at this every single day? Because
yeah, so I would have to say my 3 little boys.
Oh, how old are they?
4, 3, and 2.
Oh my goodness gracious!
So they keep me
You
busy.
are
So I don't.
busy.
I have to get out of bed, right?
Yeah.
Because who's going to take care of them?
Yeah.
But no, I think just understanding that the fact that I was able to nurse and I had some support nursing, you know, it kind of set them up for, you know, success in terms of nutrition and health, and that was very important to me. So I think, you know, always keeping kind of health conscious, you know, kind of keeping that at the forefront, wanting to set a good example to them, and letting them know that you can have dreams, you can have goals, and you can do them, and don't let people put you in a corner. You know, and I think that's kind of the biggest thing is look at what mommy and daddy are doing. We're going to make an impact, and you can do that one day too.
Oh, that's terrific to hear. Are you getting any pushback from people saying you're husband and wife, and that's not always a good combo?
You know, only 2 people have brought that to our attention.
Well, we've brought it to your attention, but others may have thought it.
That's it. I'm sure everyone thinks it, and I
Yeah.
understand. I really do. And I think it's easy to kind of think about the negatives and when it hasn't worked. But fortunately, we know too many people that it has worked.
Yeah, isn't Lynda.com, aren't they husband and wife? And
Yes.
they just finished a $110 million raise.
I believe so.
So it can work. You should always point to them.
It can
That's
work.
a good example.
We know, actually, soon to be kind of an advisor on the regulatory side, Mike Billig and his wife started Experian, which is a really successful consulting firm in Sunnyvale. And so they started that as husband and wife. And so I think that we try to remind people that there are probably more positives than negatives working as husband and wife. And then ultimately, at the end of the day, I feel like, you know, we're a team, and going back to being, you know, the visionary and then Jeff executing those visions, you can't have one without the other. And that's the stance that we take. And I feel like if people aren't comfortable with that, then it might not be a good fit for us or them. And we're okay with
So
that.
that brings up a really good point. So one of the things I coach entrepreneurs on is be careful who you take money from. Because now you're almost working for this investor. And some investors you're working a lot harder than others.
Right.
So that's something you're taking into consideration.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, and I actually just had a really good conversation with an investor on Friday, and she thinks it's amazing that we're working together. She thinks it's great that we have 3 little kids that are running around and we're out in the garage, you know, putting together prototypes and doing market research. And so it's just finding people like that that are energized by our own personal experience and what motivates us. That's key. Those are the partnerships that we want to make. We want to be around people who support the cause and really see potential in us and want to see us succeed with Naya Health, because like I said, it's going to make a huge impact on women's health, and we need that support. We need that community to make that happen.
So it sounds like you already have a prototype, because he was able to modify your existing breast pump to be more efficient. But now you're going to build it from the ground up.
Right, so what we have is a breadboard prototype, and so how I think of that is it's like a piece of bread, and we've had to kind of slice and dice and work on different parts, kind of piecing it together. So the round of funding that we're seeking right now will kind of help us bring all of those pieces together to create something that's functional. So that's kind of where we are right now. We've already been able to vet the technology so that we know that what we're going to use to initiate the suction and keep the suction going within the pump, that will work. We know that for sure. So now it's just trying to get the hardware and the software to speak to one another and work well, and then packaging it into a really small, attractive pieces.
Yes,
Yeah.
we definitely resonate with design.
Yeah.
Apple taught us that.
Yes, exactly. It's very important. And I think especially for moms on the go, you want to have something that's small and compact and that you can just throw in your purse and go. And that's what we're targeting.
Now, I would assume you've applied for some patents. Have you been awarded anything yet?
So we have filed 2 provisional patents, and so the next step would be to do full utility on both of those patents. So those were issued in April of this year, and we work towards going towards the utility patents and following those with our lawyers.
Are there any similar patents, or you are really pioneering the way in breast pump modification?
So in this particular space, with the technology that we will be using, it's first of its kind.
That's great.
So it's very exciting.
Yes, very exciting.
Yeah.
There's no one nipping at your heels, or there's no preeminent leader, that you're coming out with a new product, high demand.
It's high demand.
Yeah.
It's really targeting more digital health, so it's really going to revolutionize the way that moms interact and use their breast pump. And I think that's key, because moms are so busy now. They're trying to lean into their careers, they're trying to raise a family, they need something that works for them. So I think having something that's very efficient, hospital grade, and small, that can fit in your purse, and that's quiet.
Yeah, small, you're right. My breast pump is huge.
Right, and I mean it's like a small stereo.
2 laptop cases together.
Right.
And to have something that could fit in a purse, oh wow. That's a big difference.
I think it would
And quiet.
It's
while
quiet.
you're at work, and no one people wonder what is she doing in that stall.
Exactly. No, so one conference call that I was on, I had to pump. It just fell in that window where I needed to pump, and so I remember using my pump and having to talk and kind of engage in this conference call.
With rooms.
And yeah, exactly. People were like, "What is that noise?" And I was like, "Oh man, they can hear my pump. It's so embarrassing. But what am I going to do? I have to finish my line of thought."
Right.
So then I hurry and put my phone on mute. I mean, that's just how
Yeah.
loud they are, and it's embarrassing for women. So trying to make something that's quiet, and then also kind of feeding into that convenience aspect is making something that there aren't 12 parts to clean in total after each session, because
Oh, that was awful.
it's so cumbersome, and it's just
And they have to be sanitized,
Right.
Not just a quick clean. We're talking.
I mean, you have to,
you're giving this to your newborn. You
exactly.
want uber clean.
Yeah, and it does take time, and when you're trying to balance, just sitting down to pump, that takes time, and then cleaning, and then reassembling and deassembling. Like it's a lot that goes into that effort, and so we're really trying to pull back and say, okay, this can be done easier, and we're going to do it, and these are kind of our 4 things that we're going to target in terms of product features.
And so you raise about 200,000, 225,000, and you want to raise another 7.
About 475, yeah. So
it'll be 750 total.
So yeah, it's about 700 total.
Yeah.
So 700 for the seed round, and then we'll go up from there. So this will take us into getting different iterations of functional prototype, building out our IP portfolio, building up our team, and then just really setting us up for going into that FDA approval process, which does take a significant amount of capital. And then once we get that approval, which will probably take between 3 and 6 months from what I'm seeing with other breast pump
because
approvals.
it's a Class 2, is that what you called it?
It is. It's a Class 2 medical device, and so electric breast pumps require that a 510K application be completed and submitted to the FDA. Usually we hear back from the FDA within about 30 to 60 days, but we would expect the approval time to be anywhere from 3 to 6 months for this particular pump.
Well, that's not terribly long.
It's not bad.
And what's a ballpark on cost to do that?
So in terms of getting through the FDA, I do believe it's going to take a significant, maybe $500,000, just to kind of get through.
$500,000?
Well, get through kind of getting us up to that point in terms of getting the prototypes, being able to validate that technology, and then you have a lot of different pieces of that puzzle that you have to provide proof that it's safe, it's efficacious. So it's really all that teamwork and you
Okay, so you're paying your team to do it. You've got the reporting.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so
Right.
that's a significant chunk.
It's a big
right?
chunk. So I think
Yeah.
that's where we kind of, the 700,000 is kind of, that's where I'm lumping that 500 in. So I mean, it's a significant chunk to just get us to the point where we can say, okay, here you go, here's our application, and then waiting for them to kind of, give us the green light, which we have no reserves about. It's a very low risk process, and so we don't think that it's going to take much time at all.
So what do you think about Cheryl's book? You use the word lean in. So
Yeah, so to be honest, I have not read it entirely. I've just taken like different snippets because I think it's very motivational. I admire her. I admire her for trying to balance everything and have a successful career while also balancing motherhood. I think a lot of women might put themselves in the corner and think, well, no, I have to have one or the other. And I think, it really depends on what works for you. And, you can have it all. I think it just takes a lot of planning and support from your spouse, from your family, from your community. So I think it's, so far from what I understand, I think that her mission and what she is telling women to do is very motivational. And I think we need more women like that.
could you go back to your job in research after this wonderful land of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so, and I don't miss it because I know that I've been exposed to just the exciting world of being an entrepreneur. It's hard to beat. So I'd have to say that in research, after I graduated from university, I started out in R&D in mouse genetics, and so I was working for Genentech actually. And I worked in the lab for a little while and decided I wanted to be around people again because I was working with animal models, and so
People are good.
people are good.
It's
and
lonely
I
there in
just
the lab
love,
with amoebas.
I know, exactly. I just needed someone to kind of talk back to me and have that engagement. So I decided to kind of go into clinical research and operations around that, and that's kind of where I've gotten some experience with FDA, the whole process with FDA approval and regulation, and also kind of project management and, cross-functional leadership and communication. I mean, a lot of that came from my years at Genentech, and then I also worked at Gilead, and then more recently a startup called Tobera Therapeutics. And I think going back before all that, I was actually working on the ICU for 5 years during college at a hospital from where I used to live. And so I was
saw those tiny little
exposed.
babies.
I did, and then I also, I just saw a diverse patient population, and I think
Right.
that was just, I think all along, ever since I was a little girl, I've always had this passion for healthcare, just from personal experience.
I tell everyone, follow that passion.
That's it, and
Yeah.
you never know at what capacity or where exactly that's going to fit into your life, but as long as you keep that at the forefront, and healthcare has always been my passion, it's really led me to where I am right now.
This is great.